Hello, everyone. Welcome to the TLDR episode 415. Today, we've got Andy Lee on, who is the founder and owner of TWL, or the WOD Life. Obviously, a massive global brand in the fitness apparel and equipment space. And yeah, we're super lucky to have the opportunity to chat with him for about an hour today. So enjoy. Here we go. Hey, Andy, Tom, welcome. As an introductory, I would love to know the backstory, who you are, what the WOD Life is, where its place is in fitness equipment, whether that be activewear or actual equipment itself. What's the origin story, first of all?
All right. Well, hey guys, I'm Andy. I'm one of the co-founders of the WOD Life. The WOD Life is a multi-brand e-commerce retailer. So we started off back in 2013, myself and a mate, Ben. We were just two guys throwing down in a CrossFit gym, and we wanted to get a jump rope. It was crazy. We were working both professional jobs. I was in corporate finance and he was in politics, and we just wanted this super fast jump rope to shave a few seconds off our metcons. So there was this rope in the US that we tried to get, and we tried to buy it online back in 2013. So hard to buy stuff online, not like these days. So we tried to find it, reached out to them. They wouldn't ship it to Australia. So emailed them and say, hey guys, like we really want this rope. What can we do to get it? Oh, well, sorry, we don't ship to Australia. Okay, well, can you? No, sorry. All right, well, what can we do? Well, if you guys want to set up a business account with us, we could set you up as a wholesaler and you could buy some from us and go from there. So we sort of said, okay, well, how many do we have to buy? And at this stage, they were like $50 jump ropes, so pretty expensive, especially for us. We just wanted one each. So they said, 30. I said, oh, well, we really only need two. So, all right, well, yeah, okay, look, set us up. We'll buy a 30. I was in Melbourne at the time at a gym there. Ben was in Adelaide. Said, look, we might be able to sell these to our mates in the gym. So we basically cobbled together, I think it was like $500 each. And we bought 30 ropes, got them. We ended up slinging them to our mates at the gym. We ended up getting one each. And we thought, happy days, that's okay. We've been able to get a rope each. Our mates and friends at the gym have one. That's what we wanted out of this. No worries. But then after that, people are sort of saying, well, you got us that rope. These ropes are awesome. What else can you get? What else can you get? Can you get me this? Can you get that? So it all sort of snowballed from there. And this one jump rope has caused the last sort of nine years of action for us. So pretty crazy that just one little thing has sort of created what it is today in the WOD Life.
That's crazy. Unreal. Do you still have it?
Not the original jump rope. I think I've had like 2 or 3 jump ropes from there, but I ended up visiting the guys in the US and I said, like, look what you guys have done. All we wanted was one jump rope. Like if you had basically just said, yeah, sure, buy it online, or no worries, we'll ship it to you. Like I feel like not only myself, but like a lot of people, especially our early friends and a lot of people throwing down in gyms, wouldn't necessarily have access to a lot of the stuff that they do today, especially in Australia.
Isn't that kind of the story of like a lot of the origins of big business and companies, that it comes from like overcoming some level of adversity? Like you had to overcome this thing and you persisted and you had to email and you had to set up this business account. You could have easily just said, like, stuff that, I can't be bothered.
Yeah, for sure. It seems pretty simple. And when you look back on it, you're like, oh, as you just said it then, Luke, you just sent an email and like, here you go, you got a business. But yeah, at that time, we didn't even think about it. And I think, a lot of the best businesses in the world come from problems. It's not about necessarily like, oh, I've got to start a business. I need to find a product. What product is it going to be? And I think all the best ideas come when you're least expecting it, or you're experiencing a pain point, or there's a problem. It's quite often what they say, in the pandemic, some of the best businesses started up there, businesses like Airbnb, that started when the guys had a problem. All these big businesses these days have started when there's a problem. Our business is a little bit simpler with a jump rope, but hey, businesses like Airbnb and Uber, because they couldn't find a place to stay in San Francisco, now you can randomly sleep in someone's like spare room across the world pretty easy by a click of a button. So yeah, it's pretty crazy how someone's pain point, and with a little bit of ticker, you can create something pretty cool off the back of it.
Yeah, it's really inspiring actually, just to hear that. I think I've got that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, and maybe you didn't even think that it was going to turn into this massive business. You probably didn't, and you even said yourself. So, do you think that it took a certain level of entrepreneurship, entrepreneurialness? What's the word for that?
Yeah, or a little bit of ignorance. Like sometimes ignorance is bliss, and Hilltop Woods go a little bit further with that. But yeah, ignorance is bliss, and sometimes when you don't know any better, you just go, oh yeah, sure. Like I'll email them, I'll get the ropes, I'll set that up. You don't even think twice. But sometimes when you know too much, you might get scared about going, oh no, well, I don't want to have to do that. What happens if I have to file taxes, or, what happens if I get hit with an import duty? Like we didn't even think of that stuff. Like we didn't even have a bank account. I said to my mate working at the local bank branch, like, hey mate, can you just quickly set up a bank account for me? Like just put it in my name. That's okay. But little did I know that would cause issues down the track. That like I had a little bank account in my name and it wasn't a business. But hey, you don't even think about these things. You just kind of do what you have to do to get the result you want, and kind of figure it out later. I think what they say is that you jump out of a plane and build the parachute on the way down, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. But if you don't think about it, you just go, okay, well, I've got to land safely. I'm going to need a parachute. How am I going to do it? And you just figure it out.
Have you always lived life like that, do you think, with your corporate finance stuff? Do you just jump into stuff and then kind of figure it out first, or later, I should say?
No, not at all. Like, not at all. That's why it's quite different. And I think I've developed that skill. I think it's enjoyable and fun. It's like you've got to have a risk appetite for it. But I think if you have a little bit of ignorance where you don't quite understand the risks, then you're a lot more willing to dive in. But Ben and I never anticipated that it would be our lives. It would be a business that would be able to, employ people, allow people to live out their dreams through like sponsorship or do some really cool stuff. We never, ever, ever thought about it. So it's pretty wild in that sense. But, I was always that guy who was told, whether it was from society, you have to work hard at school, study, get good marks, so that you do well, so that you go to university, so that you get into a good course, so that you get a good job, so that you can have money to, maybe have that white picket fence, a dog, a family, and go on a holiday every once a year. Like, I think that's what society has kind of told us to do. And not so much that's the path that I was on, but I think that's generally the path to success that you are told, and that has a high probability to success. So that's why you generally follow it. Like a lot of people who started businesses have failed. You quite often don't hear about the failures. You only hear about the success and the overnight success they have. But yeah, I definitely wasn't like that. I spent far too many hours studying and working, and never even thought about having my own business or being entrepreneurial. So it's quite different for me. But I think, sometimes when you've got an itch and you want to kind of scratch it, things unfold for you.
Going into kind of as much or as little detail as you like, how big is the WOD Life now? Like, how many employees? What countries are you shipping to? Is it worldwide? How many athletes? Like, what kind of size of a company are we talking about here?
Yeah, in terms of we ship globally all day, every day. So yeah, we've shipped all over the world, whether that's Australia, US, into Asia, South America, Europe, Africa, yeah, all over the world, which is super cool. And then, we're shipping hundreds of thousands of orders each year, and that's been growing pretty steadily year on year. We started with that humble jump rope with a handful of products where we actually bought one of everything. So you can imagine kind of walking into a supermarket, and on the shelf, there's only one of everything, but the shelf looks full. And then when we would sell that, we'd go, oh, we've got to go and buy two now. So that has kind of spawned into, thousands of products with tens, if not, hundreds of different brands. So yeah, it's pretty crazy how far it's come from that one jump rope to touch, hundreds of thousands of people all over the world, which is pretty cool from sort of behind a computer effectively.
At what point did you maybe decide to, like, it was a completely online thing? Like you mentioned, you started with your local box that you were kind of selling to mates and that sort of stuff. These, 50, 30 jump ropes, whatever it was. At what point were you like, okay, cool, we've actually, got some traction here. They reached out to you and said, what else can you get? But there's got to be maybe a point in time when you were going, oh my God, we've got, people we don't even know now reaching out, seeing these things. How do we get to them?
Yeah, it's a good question. So initially you kind of like sell it to your mates at the gym. That's like the path to least resistance. But we were pretty big on just e-commerce and buying things online. That was sort of early days, and I don't know, the one thing, you talked about earlier, Luke, about being entrepreneurial. I mean, I was always interested in like finding cool stuff on the internet to buy. When I was a younger guy interested in cars, I found out that I could buy number plates from the US and sell them, like California number plates. So I'd buy these old number plates that people would use for like $2 or $3 on eBay, and then sell them for like 30, 40, 50 bucks on like car forums, just for like pocket money, effectively. So I was always interested, and I believed a lot in the internet, and always loved like finding new cool things. So the discoverability of the internet was super cool, and I never thought about getting that for my mates or whatever. But when we had those people coming to us, we thought, okay, we need to find a way to set this up and organize that. And we asked a friend to help us out, set up a little website. Luckily, it was on Shopify, and that was relatively easy. But I remember the day that Ben and I set it up and we went live. And back then, you could post something on Facebook and every single one of your followers would see the post. Now you've obviously got to pay for that, but put it up there, bang, hey, we're live. And I remember like waiting for an order to come through, and the first order was a guy called Nick Corkill from Tasmania. And I got on the phone and I rang up Ben, and I just said, mate, is he your friend? Like, how do you know someone in Tasmania? He goes, I have no idea who this guy is. So we just went, all right, cool. That's so awesome. Some random guy has found out our website. Like we could be on something here. So that was the like one of the first moments where we thought, okay, we got something here, not to the scale where we would leave our full-time jobs and pack it all in to go after it, but at least something there was kind of cool outside of the gym walls.
Must have been so exciting, just like you can see it blossoming into something, just this random dude from Tassie. That must have been so exciting. Can you explain what that felt like?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I think we're both pretty ecstatic because we were just moonlighting, working on this stuff. I know my office at the time in Melbourne, I was just getting all these like random things delivered, and the receptionist was like, "What is all this stuff?" And I just sort of said, "Oh no, I'm just selling these things to my mates at the gym, like group buys or whatever." But yeah, for even to think about setting something up and then someone who you don't know outside of your friends and family was a pretty crazy feeling. And I guess coupled with a little bit of that ignorance and that little bit of adrenaline and excitement, that kind of pushes you forward to keep going and to find new stuff. The thrill of finding new products and the thrill of connecting with people and them being so stoked that they could get a product that they just couldn't have access to. So that for us was like everything early days. Like creating a business or making money wasn't even in our thought. So we just wanted to get cool stuff for ourselves, and we knew that, hey, if we wanted this cool stuff, other people did as well. So yeah, it was just fun for us. We were just passionate about training, passionate about products, and just meeting people who are like-minded and could be a little bit more inspired to train or go in the gym because we hooked them up with a jump rope or a pair of shoes or whatever. Was a pretty cool feeling.
That was your motivation early days. I'm sure that still motivates you now, but you seeing growth year on year, is that the big driver now to just take over, like monopolize? Like what's the motivation now compared to back when you first started?
Yeah, I think the motivation is still the same. Like the size of the business doesn't really impact motivation at all. Like I think it gets down to deep inside, like the cheesiness of like what is your why, or like what are you passionate about? And I'm passionate about health and fitness. I'm passionate about trying to communicate that with as many people as possible, have a community of like-minded people around you that you can do cool stuff together. I think that's sort of the underlying thing in what we do. And sometimes because we are, an e-commerce business, a pure play business online, we don't necessarily get to have that personal human interaction. But when you see people get their order online, unboxing it, or you sponsor an athlete to be able to travel and compete at an event, and you see their friends and family watch them and how excited they are, or you see someone getting their first muscle up or PRing their lift and they're wearing your clothes in random corners of the globe, like that feeling is still the same feeling that we felt day one with Nick Corkill from Tasmania buying from us. Like it's still the same. And Ben and I are like super humble guys, so when we're not out there doing PR or photo shoots, we're like in there every day just trying to do cool stuff and create opportunities for people that we can share this with as many people around the world as possible.
Yeah, you mentioned that feeling of seeing other people excel, and especially like wearing your branded apparel, equipment, all that sort of stuff. There was obviously a time through the business's growth where you thought, hey, we can actually make this our own. And that's a big, that's a slight shift from importing and distributing and selling other people's branded products. How did sort of that brainchild come to pass? And then I know a lot of like the unique designs on your apparel is pretty iconic. Like it's definitely different. It stands out, which is epic. So how did, first of all, maybe the idea of bringing TWL into equipment and apparel come to pass? And then obviously the standout is quite, I guess, specific to your brand.
Yeah, for sure. So in the name, Ben and I wanted to create a community and a lifestyle. So the WOD Life really epitomizes that for us. WOD meaning workout of the day, for all those people out there still sort of scratching their head. So yeah, we wanted it to be a lifestyle, and initially we just wanted to have a central place where people could get advice, could get products, and could get inspiration around their workouts. So that was our initial idea. there was a time when we go, okay, geez, we're going to need a logo here. So we didn't have much money. So we, put it up online to some, freelancers, and everyone kept coming back, putting a kettlebell in the O. That seemed to be, okay, fitness, kettlebell in the O, that works. So even to just get a logo up was pretty tough. We ended up reaching out to a guy who was a designer for Deus Ex Machina, who was a CrossFitter at the time himself. Was like, hey, mate, can we sort of call in a favor? There was a lot of favors early days, and he helped us out with the first logo. And it wasn't to be a brand. It was just, okay, we need a logo for our website here so that, people can identify with us. And we were at a event in Adelaide called Fit Wars, probably 8 years ago. I think that one was held at the showgrounds. So Fit Wars was basically an event where all the gyms could have their athletes come and compete at, scaled, intermediate, and a pro level, and just kind of throw down over the course of a weekend. So we had a pop-up shop there, and Ben and I basically went to a local screen printer, got the thickest, most uncomfortable black t-shirts that we could find, and said, hey, mate, can you just screen print our logo on this t-shirt so that people know, who's working at the shop? And we packed Ben's car at the time. I think we got a trailer and basically took everything from his bedroom and set up a pop-up shop there in the showgrounds. And we were just two guys wearing our logo on a t-shirt, and we were just selling stuff there, and people were like, wow, what's that logo? That's super cool. Like, where can I buy one of those t-shirts? We're like, oh no, that's just us. Like, we're just here so that you know who's working at the shop. And they're like, no, I really like that. And it kept happening, and more and more people were asking us. So we went, all right, maybe let's just print a few more and then put them on the website. And then from there, people were just going crazy and buying that, because they sort of believed in what we were doing. They wanted to identify with a community of people who were passionate about training and wanted to be seen in that sense. So that was sort of where it started for us. And then we just had a mate who helped us out, make some sort of crazy designs. Initially, it was just screen printing on t-shirts, getting it printed up at the local screen printer and going from there. But what we took from that is that, the activewear space and everyone is doing the same thing. So, everyone's got the black t-shirt, the black shorts. Fitness can be pretty boring and pretty simple. So we tried to have some fun with it. And initially it was collaborations with people just on designs, and then sort of taking that streetwear hype, scarcity type mindset and go, hey, how about if we did 100 of this design, and it's pretty hard to get and it's unique, it's one off, we don't print it again. And people just loved it because it was different. And I think walking into a gym where everyone's wearing black, it's kind of fun if you go in there with a wild pair of shorts. People actually go, whoa, what are they? Like, that is crazy. That's different. And yeah, in a market where everyone's doing pretty similar things, I think our first design, we were just playing around with it. We figured out that we could print on a pair of shorts. And again, we weren't guys who knew how to design apparel from the ground up, but we figured it out initially. Luckily now we've got far more talented people in the business who look after that for us. But I think we just put pineapples on a pair of shorts, and Ben wore it into the gym. He was pretty skeptical about it. He said, I don't know, mate, this is a bit wild. People aren't going to enjoy it. And he strutted on into the gym, and people just, what are those? They are out of control. Like, where can I get a pair of those? That's awesome. So it sort of spawned from there. And now it's one of the things that we're known for. It's a bit of fun. We can play around with it. We've done some collaborations with big athletes, big names, also artists like Steen Jones, who started off as a tattoo artist. And we try and tell stories through that. We've been able to do, charity things as well, whether that's linking up with barbells for boobs or breast cancer awareness. We've been able to really utilize that as a voice in the community and to, raise money or to build awareness for certain causes. So it's quite a cool vehicle amongst the business to try and live out that passion and to spread the message as far as and wide as possible.
I think there's a couple of layers to that. First of all, obviously swimming against the tide, like you're going to get lost in the mess of the big brands, I guess, if you want to like, hey, let's make a real small design, as probably I and Luke both have on, either all black or just a small design on a blank canvas. You're competing against such a massive market, but if you can create something that's, you don't have a competition, basically, is what it is. It's like, cool, it's iconic, it stands out. And that's true in any industry, I guess. Obviously, it takes guts to wear pineapple shorts into a gym that's probably all black for the first time. But there's definitely some, a lesson there that most people hopefully can take away. And secondly, there just seems to be a big theme of community around your motivation. Obviously, you mentioned that in terms of just helping people get things that maybe they didn't think they could initially. But, it's transcended into like helping charities, helping other communities reach into this community to community. It seems like it's a big, whether it's subconscious, but it's definitely a strong theme of what you guys have created.
Yeah, for sure. It can be a term that's sort of overused.
Yeah.
But it started from day one for us, and we came from that. I think as soon as you step foot inside a gym, that's the feeling that you get. And the types of gyms and CrossFit boxes and studios that we've been involved in, that's the theme, and that's the golden thread that holds everyone together. And yeah, for us, that the driver was, look, the product comes second, but what we wanted to do was to try and bring people together to give them, the information, the advice, and the inspiration to now discover what they're capable of, but really just to be motivated to get up and train. And we knew that, we have to try and make the economics work, but we believe that, product is a big part of that, in that if you walk in with maybe a pair of pineapple shorts, you're going to be strutting into the gym and excited to train. And if that's what gets you motivated to train and to see your mates, to see your friends, if that's what helps the coach get you back in there, if you've ripped your hands and you can't go to the gym because you can't grip the pull-up bar, well, if you've got this pair of grips that maybe stop your hand from ripping in the first place, and you can still go back into the gym and train, that is sort of the why the product plays such a role. So yeah, it's inherent for us, and it's something that we're built on. And I think if you can have that sort of resonate, that's really what we're all about.
Not to say that the WOD Life wouldn't have become what it is today without CrossFit, but the boom of CrossFit with the WOD Life and the conception of that, they're pretty parallel to each other, or at least they were. Do you still see that being the same way, or do you see kind of your parting ways now, or what is the general feeling around the business between?
Yeah, we were born out of CrossFit back in the early 2000s. That was an exciting way to train. Back then it was like grungy gyms that were graffitied, and it was edgy. And the overall concept for us is that people are always going to train. People want to be fit and active. How they train is going to change and evolve with trends, with different training methodologies or popular culture. Early 2000s was really, as you said, Luke, was when CrossFit was exploding. It obviously started in the US there, came over to Australia. There was a big bang, and it was a different way to train. I know, both Ben and myself, we were playing a lot of sport, and we were always interested in, okay, what is the most effective way for us to train? And at that time, early 20s, being a guy, you're like, okay, great. Like I've got the most energy. I can just throw myself into training. How am I going to get the fittest I possibly can? And that feeling of absolutely smashing yourself was pretty fun. Now I've got to be a bit smarter with my training, but yeah, back then that was what we were doing, and that was what we were passionate about. And I think that was super cool. People were super tight. You know, you'd walk through the airport and you'd see someone with a pair of Reebok Nanos on, and you could basically go up and have a conversation with them because they were almost like part of this brotherhood, this sisterhood of people that were working out in this kind of a way. And it definitely went to the mainstream in terms of being shown on ESPN, and some of the athletes were household names. But now I think, whether people realize it or not, CrossFit was sort of the trailblazer for a lot of the high intensity training studios, boutique fitness, and a lot of the gyms now. CrossFit started out because Greg Glassman, the original founder, wanted to find out a way as a PT, how can I train 10, 20 people at a time? Because when you earn money as a PT and you're only training one person, you're only making 1 times an hourly rate. But hey, if you can train 10 or 20, then you're making more money, and then it might be a business. So I think CrossFit really blazed the trail for what group fitness, group training looks like. And that's now sort of set up for gyms like Revel, BodyFit, F45. Those types of gyms have really spawned off the back of CrossFit. So CrossFit is still at the heart of everything that we do, but it's definitely a lot more than that as we've grown and gotten bigger.
You say that you're still somewhat paired with CrossFit, given the WOD Life, 1/3 of the title of the business. WOD generally is associated with CrossFit. Where do you see that progressing? Is it that you just maintain the branding, or is it that you completely separate yourself and I guess look at the market as a total and try and cover all bases, and you turn it into the Fit Life or the Health Life, or some other don't use either of those because they're terrible names. But is there some other what's the next step? I guess is what I'm asking.
Yeah, we've definitely thought deeply about this, and we think that the term WOD is quite transferable. Even normally with CrossFit, you would have to pay a license fee to use the term CrossFit. And I think that's one of the challenges for CrossFit, and cause this sort of breakaway of different gyms. But even you walk into a Anytime Fitness or an F45, they still call it a WOD. So that's still a transferable term. And when you say it to people, they go, oh yeah, cool, that makes sense. So WOD for us means, workout of the day, in that it's the best hour of your day. It's part of your lifestyle. So however you train, it doesn't really matter. You're still, looking to do a workout. So that's how we see that and see that evolving. By the same token, it's always nice to have a short, sharp name and branding. And we've transitioned quite a lot into TWL, which is a bit tighter and can be a bit of an acronym there. Not only does it go on a t-shirt and it doesn't take up as much space, but it is a bit of a tighter brand lockup that can be really associated with anything.
You mentioned just before about getting athletes on board. I want to know what that process was like early days. Who were the first athletes? How did that come about? Were they Australia based? Were you in the US at the time? What was that like?
Yeah, well, I think Tom said initially about having to go a different direction to other brands. We weren't the biggest brand in the space, and we always look when someone zigs, we have to zag, because if we're following exactly what everyone else is doing, it's not necessarily going to work. So what Ben and I found was that a lot of the top brands, and Sports Marketing 101 was about getting the best athletes, getting the product on the best athletes. So with our limited budget, we couldn't do that. So we tried to have a bit of a different approach and sort of go grassroots up. So find, our friends in the gym. Originally, it was our mate in Sydney who was far more muscly and ripped for us, and he was in Bondi. So at the time, we thought it was pretty cool. Shout out to Iron Mike, who was like, right, you look far fitter and better in this gear than us. Wear that. And it was, early days was what now seen as, influencer marketing or whatever. But for us, it was just, okay, who are initially our friends in different gyms around Australia or the world that can help spread the word for us. We didn't really think about it as, sponsoring athletes at the time, but it was really just going, hey, we're trying to create something cool. Can you help us spread the word? And then it was like, okay, well, now these people are competing at events. How do we help support them? So we started, I guess, sponsoring them, paying for entry in events. And hey, if you get them on top of the podium, a couple of photos, that's a good thing for the brand. So it went from our mates and friends in gyms wearing our stuff into reaching out to other people to help. Maybe they might be the coach at a gym and they're wearing it up in front of the class as they talk about daily workout. And then their members are saying, hey, like, where do I get a pair of grips? Where's that t-shirt? That's pretty cool. So we went more so with a grassroots up approach, and that moved into, for a time we had an athlete team where we'd have training camps and things like that for athletes based all over Australia. We had athletes in the US, and at one point in time, it was pretty massive. We were managing sort of 30, 40, 50 people, which was awesome. And for Ben and I to be able to do that, because I guess fitness and competing in local competitions is pretty lonely. You got to put in a ton of time to work out. Quite often, you're maybe working part-time or you're sacrificing a job to be able to train. So it's pretty expensive as well. So for us to be able to utilize WOD Life as a vehicle to get people to achieve their dreams, and, we get a bit of airtime associated with that, that was pretty cool for us. But really the pinnacle for us is when we've seen the WOD Life sponsoring athletes on, the CrossFit Games floor. That for us is probably been the coolest thing.
In terms of sponsorships moving forwards, this would be the perfect time to ask for a sponsorship, but
yeah, I see where you're getting to. You're building me up here, Luke.
Yeah.
Going for the kill.
Thinking, if we're looking forwards, why not getting in touch with AFLW or like soccer in Australia or something like that? Or are you thinking that you want to go more into the gym space? Like, what's the mindset around that? Because I can see a football in the background. That's what made me think of it, to be honest.
Yeah, soccer ball as well. Yeah, look, I think we had a strategy day with our team last month, and we basically said, hey guys, like, this is a big vision for our business. What does it look like and mean to you? And I think that was pretty cool for Ben and I to sit back and really understand, what dreams do our team have, and how do we help support that? And, one of the guys said, hey, why don't we sponsor an F1 team? That'd be pretty cool. He's into F1. You could see a little TWL logo on the side of Daniel Ricciardo's car. That'd be pretty sweet. And hey, if we get to hang out in pit lane, that'd probably be worth the sponsorship in itself. But yeah, look, we've done stuff with AFL players before, with Matildas, the Australian women's soccer team, Socceroos. For us, and it gets back to your earlier point about where the WOD Life is going, we believe centrally that training leads to better lives. And we believe that you can't be a better athlete in your respective sport without doing some sort of training. It may be sport specific. If you're a footy player, it might be a bit more explosive. These guys are still training, and training is at the heart of what they do to be able to get better in their chosen field. So yeah, there's a massive link there for sure. And on the peripherals, that's what we've engaged in the past. The challenge is trying to be too much to everyone in a short period of time. And that's how we sort of have to manage it. If all of a sudden we want to be going and doing all these different things, that is going to sort of take our eye off the key, I guess, training focus that we have. It's a difficult juggling act. But yeah, it's definitely something that we've explored in the past, and not necessarily outside of that. It's just trying to do things in a meaningful way that have an impact rather than trying to do too much. And I think that's where we're just trying to strike a bit of a balance there. But it's definitely something in our roadmap, whether we're sponsoring a F1 team or Manchester United. It'd be pretty cool.
As a Liverpool supporter, I do not condone the United sponsorship, but it
we
would be very cool.
All the help we can get at the moment, mate. So.
No, that's fair. And to that effect, I guess, like you say, it's been 9 years that this has come along on this journey. Maybe can you speak to the effect or the journey on like specializing until you can generalize from a business perspective? Like you've been able to kind of, your niche quite specifically was this up and coming fitness craze, for want of a better phrase, that was CrossFit, and you niche down and we're like, cool, let's really barrel down here. And now you've got the ability to expand the brand across sports, I guess, because CrossFit is the sport of fitness. It's one of the definitions. So like you say, strength training or training in general is supplementary to a healthy lifestyle or becoming a better athlete. And so you're kind of branching out across that market. Was there a point in time through, the WOD Life journey where you're like, okay, we've actually not ticked the box, like we've got into the market here through CrossFit? Like, what are some other areas? Or has it just kind of happened a bit more organically?
Yeah, it's a good question. For us, it's been organic. We don't necessarily want to push anything. We see, even, you log in to see the orders of where they're coming from, and you go, oh, wow, there's a Socceroo who's playing in China that has just made an order from us. Like, what's going on there? And then you actually go through and you're like, oh, I notice a lot of these guys, like, and they're just buying from us as customers. So you go, okay, maybe there's an opportunity there. Can we reach out to these guys and say, hey, what can we do? How do we do something meaningful together? So yeah, for us, there's so many opportunities coming at us. It's just about trying to pick the right one that is authentic and organic as well. So you still want to stay in your lane. There's the blue ocean strategy or a red ocean, and we tried to choose a blue ocean. But we think it will organically come. Even now, over the past 2 years, like running, previously it wasn't really sexy or cool to like run. Every time I'm sure if Luke, you program a running workout, heads sort of drop in the gym. But now people are like, oh no, I've got to go out and work on my running. So they're buying running shoes and they're going out there and running because they understand that that's sort of part of fitness. It's not just about, lifting heavy. Yeah. It's about being well-rounded. So that's unlocked that opportunity for us to try and do more in the running space, to do, work with brands on their running products. So these things come organically for us. And while we do have a bigger strategy for the business and what it may become in the next, 5 or 10 years, is that we're still trying to do it in an authentic way where we don't lose that core customer at the heart about, why we started this, and I guess the community impact that has been touched on a few times here. It's trying to be authentic, because I think if you get to, it'd be lovely to be at a Rebel Sport level, but what are they really about? They're kind of about sport, but there's not a whole lot of passion behind that's purely sort of transactional. So we're trying to do that and at that scale in a authentic, passionate way that still has a level of connectedness to our original mission.
Just to add on to the connectedness and the community style, like a lot of the theme of this conversation is around that. You see other big clothing brands opening up gyms, opening up bricks and mortar facilities. Is that something that you would potentially be open to around the world or in Australia or here in Adelaide?
Yeah, for sure. The way we have a lot of discussions about that internally and also with other brands and what that looks like. We're massive on just experience. Being an online business, it means that you don't necessarily get the opportunity to see people face to face. Yes, we do events and pop-up shops and things like that, but you don't really have that day-to-day experience. In our plans and in our goals, what we'd love to do is to have a experiential training facility where people can come in, train, work out, have that community element, but also be able to try out the products in real time that we sell, and that can help them in their training. So that's something that we're in the process of trying to map out at the moment. Again, we don't want to be unauthentic and just do it for the sake of it, but we see a lot of value in that experience and that offline element, which we think can enrich the business. For us, it's that sort of high street retail's almost dead. You see Nike moving towards just experiential spaces, and that's definitely where we see it going. Just being able, the online store or the online business will still be the heart of where a lot of the transactions take place. But if people can go and visit that in a real space, they'll get more connected. They'll create experiences and have moments with the brand and the business that will hopefully make them want to be long-term customers and aficionados for us. So yeah, we'd love to have a training space and, maybe an exit through the gift shop in, capital cities around Australia. We already get people knocking on our warehouse door and wanting to come in and try some shoes on and then run over to the gym in the warehouse there and try and do a few lifts. So, we're trying to build that out and do that in a cool, meaningful way that has a real positive impact, but also doesn't necessarily take away from the gyms and the coaches that we work so closely with.
Yeah.
Do you collab with many other brands? You mentioned that you talk with other brands. Is collaboration something that the TWL, do you want to refer it to TWL or the WOD Life, or is it kind of synonymous?
TWL is a bit tighter and easier and saves a few characters when you're typing it. So sure. happy to do that.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, we do. Like the WOD Life we're a multi-brand retailer. We do have our own brand in TWL, but we do work with some of the other, biggest and best brands on the planet: Nike, Adidas, Reebok, etc. I think a lot of the products that we work with them on, they wouldn't necessarily be available if we didn't work with them on that. We're in touch with Nike and Reebok in particular about, okay, what products do we need to develop and what does that look like? Under Armour as well, one of their athletes who's actually from Adelaide originally, James Newbury, he actually worked with them on developing their latest training shoe. So we have a lot of communication with these brands, which is super cool. And in the pipeline, there's talk about, doing a collaboration shoe or collaboration products with them. Again, we try and do that in a meaningful way. We don't like to just slap our logo on something. We definitely try and design things where there's a need in the market or it's something different or cool that is going to actually add some value. So yeah, definitely things that we work on behind the scenes, but we're definitely open to any ideas people have. It's always an open door can't say that we can always do everything, but where it makes sense and we can do it in a meaningful way and have an impact, we can definitely do it.
TWL is obviously very, very successful. And we talked about the successes of it in our conversation so far, but have you ever tried to branch off and maybe start something else? Have there been any failures in the 9-year journey so far, whether it be arms of TWL or separate businesses altogether?
Yeah, so early days, we probably still in our business structure, we still have a few of these smaller companies, but we were basically seeing an opportunity and setting up a business and running it. Early days, we set up a coffee company called Rebel Coffee, where we wanted basically highly caffeinated coffee for our workouts.
Yes.
You know, some of the dangerous pre-workouts they were just loaded with all of these chemicals that you just couldn't pronounce. So we were like, big coffee drinkers and passionate about it. And so we basically go, all right, how about if we came up with a highly caffeinated coffee that we could drink before our workouts, that's, organic and it's as natural as possible, then, we could be on something there. So yeah, I remember myself and a few mates sat around, we worked with a local roaster and put some things together and sat around a coffee machine one day and had far too many espresso shots of coffee and wrote down tasting notes. And I remember one of the guys had to tap out and leave. He just goes, guys, I got to go. Like, I'm not feeling so well, because we were just having too much coffee. But we came up with a blend that tasted really good, but was also quite highly caffeinated, like 2 to 3 times more than a normal coffee shot. We actually built up a brand and a business around it. We came up with some cool designs, some apparel around that, because again, there's like a lifestyle around that coffee drinking, that black and white, even to the time where people would buy apparel from us and be like, hey, have you heard of Rebel Coffee, or have you tasted the coffee? No, I just like the t-shirts. It's a cool t-shirt. It's like, okay, wild. So we were doing, this is just one example where, we were getting coffee roasted locally and then selling that online, selling that at events. The next thing there was cold brew coffee before that was really even a thing. So we took this, what was already highly caffeinated coffee, made it even more caffeinated by making a cold brew. And then we were like bottling it and selling. We went to a weightlifting meet and people just couldn't get enough of it. But again, it comes back to this focus. And the one thing that I've learned is that if you try and do everything to the level that you think it needs to be done, you can never do anything well. Yeah. So we sort of had to make the decision. While that was cool, and that may have been a business in its own right, because the WOD Life took so much time, effort, and energy, and we were building something there, we had to focus on that. And I think especially early days when we were just trying to make enough money to keep the lights on and trying to capitalize on opportunities, we were doing everything that we could to find that opportunity. But we had to sort of put a few of these things, not so much down, but we had to turn the volume down on them or integrate them into the WOD Life, because we just couldn't do everything. And that's still one that, I wouldn't say it was a failure, but we just had to come to the realization that we just couldn't continue to operate that. So, if you guys have a bit of time on your hands, I'm happy to give you the secret recipe and the logo and the keys to the website, and you can, sort of take that on. But sort of a fun story again that we were passionate about. We saw a gap in the market that not necessarily anyone was doing at the time, but you just can't do absolutely everything. No matter how much passion you have, you've only got so much energy to be able to execute it.
Unreal. I love the idea of extremely caffeinated coffee, that's for sure.
A little bit dangerous.
Tom's ears pricked up,
yeah.
Absolutely. Down that path of like singular point of focus and being able to triple down on something to get the best out of it. When it comes to your employees and the workload, not the workload, the work that you're giving them and getting them bought into the culture of TWL and things like that. Obviously, it's not their brand. So what are some, strategies, or how do you go about going, cool, we've got this team of X amount of people, we want to bring them in like family, and we want to make sure that we can, get them on board with where our end goal is. What are some maybe success stories or even what they call road bumps that you might have come across there?
Yeah, again, you're just coming up with good questions here. It's Ben and I, we're two humble guys, and what we realize is that we don't necessarily know everything or the best way to go about something. So we believe the best way that we can approach things is with that humility and an open mind to try and learn. And especially early days, the toughest thing was for us to realize that our team or our employees, it's not their business. So they're not going to stay up until their eyeballs are itchy to try and do something. So we have to be mindful of that. It is our business at the end of the day, and we're super passionate about it. But I think the key things that we've learned are, one, try and communicate what the business is about and why you're doing it, and bring that into the people that you're looking to have as part of the team, and try and have that from day dot, them aligned with that mission.
Yeah, I
think it's all about assembling that great team, and we're extremely grateful for the guys and girls that we work with now. We've got a fantastic team that's super passionate and hardworking, and that's great. I think that's one of the biggest testaments to what we've built, is to be able to have that team work for us towards this common goal. But yeah, it's important that, one, they share somewhat alignment in passion there. The second part is to constantly involve them with that. We're a very open, honest, transparent business. Ben and my door is always open. We try and involve the team, similar to, like I said before, what does this look like to you guys, and how do we utilize the WOD Life as a vehicle for you to be able to achieve your dreams and things that you want to do? Not necessarily that you're going to be able to work on that 24/7 in terms of your role, but how do we maybe carve that out and to give you the opportunity to do cool stuff like that? And we try and work with our team on that in a one-to-one basis as best as we can. Again, we're always learning there, but we also want to try and utilize WOD Life as a vehicle so that people can do cool stuff.
Yeah.
Whether that's getting cool products or do special projects or do things, experience things, or build skill set in their career that helps advance them forward. So that's pretty key to us. And we want them to feel like it's their business as much as it is ours. Kind of one thing we've always got to do better is to try and share the successes, to stop and smell the roses, so to speak, because we're moving so fast. And when you try and achieve and excel, quite often you don't get to enjoy those moments. So I know I personally have to do a better job of just stopping and going, wow, that's super cool, or having some moments and you get to look back going, man, look how far we've come, or look at what we've done this year. Even last 2 years have gone like a blur, but our content team put together this video reel of all the things we did last year, and we showed it to the team, and it was just super cool. We just go, wow, that was this year. What a crazy year. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So one is about finding the people that are passionate and sharing your vision, and two, it's about including them in that, understanding what their own personal goals are. While it's a job for them, it also needs to be something bigger than that for them to really feel success. And then three, it's about trying to stop and smell those roses so that you don't forget those cool moments, especially when things are hard, or you're working on something that's pretty big. When you achieve that, you actually need to stop and go, wow, that was awesome.
Yeah.
throw out a few high fives and let people know how good that was, and then try and help that fuel you for the next thing that you want to try and achieve.
That must help you a lot, having that team backing you in to be able to take some time off and to be fully confident that they're going to be able to handle stuff. And that kind of leads into my next question of how do you manage? Like, this has been, I'm sure the last 9 years or so has been a massive blur for you, but how do you maintain that balance of life and growing this now very, very successful business?
Yeah, I don't think you necessarily ever figure it out, Luke. I think, again, we try and learn constantly. And yeah, it's something that I'm always looking to get better with. I've always been a go person. I don't really have gears. I've sort of got two speeds. It's like go and hit the wall. And maybe as I get not necessarily older, but maybe a little bit more experienced, I'm able to, I guess, understand what that looks like for me. I once had this boss when I was working in corporate finance. He handed me a book called The Corporate Athlete. And, I've always been very sporty and love any sporting analogy that can be thrown at me and find it a good way to learn. But he was just like, mate, you can't win the grand final every day. Because I was coming into work and trying to win the grand final every day. And to play in the grand final every day, let alone win the grand final every day, is always massive. It takes a massive amount of preparation, energy. So that was like, I've never been big on reading books. So thanks to Audible and podcasts is a great tool for me, but never read the book, but I got the gist of it. I got my way through law school reading the Cliff Notes. So yeah, I'm always good about, okay, what's this all about? Taking the learnings from it and trying to take that forward. The big thing for me is that understanding it's not a 9 to 5, like it's a lifestyle, which is, the WOD Life, TWL lifestyle, but it's also roller coaster. There's going to be some times where you have all the energy in the world. So you've really got to lean into that. But then there's also some times where previously I didn't necessarily know, but I was about to hit the wall. So for me, it's trying to harness, what was a Happy Gilmore, like harness good, block bad. It's about that, like, okay, if I'm feeling energetic and up for it, keep going, keep working, keep pushing. But if you feel that your battery is getting a bit empty, okay, maybe just pull back a little bit. And that's okay, because you can't play a grand final every day, but find ways where you can try and fill that bucket back up, restore some battery there so that you can go in again. So it's about, I say I've got all the time in the world, but I don't have all the energy in the world. For me, it's just about managing those energy levels and having the awareness of when you can put the foot down or when you need to maybe take a few, speeds off. And I haven't figured it out yet, but I'm always learning.
Some triple strength Rebel coffee will help, I reckon.
That sounds good. Yeah, but if there's a high, there's always a crash. So
that's it.
That sort of epitomizes me in a drink.
Unreal. So good. Well, I don't know about you, Luke, but I think we got so much out of that just then there, Andy. I super appreciate you coming on and making some time. You're obviously a very busy man with this time and energy that you're affording us, so we do appreciate it. Obviously we'll let everyone know that does tune in and tag in the TWL or the socials and link the website and that sort of stuff. Is there anything you want to maybe lead off with or finish off with?
No, I just thank you guys for the opportunity. Like I always find in having these conversations, I learn something about myself as well. And yeah, I just appreciate the opportunity to try and tell my story. Hopefully people learn something from it or get a little bit of motivation to jump out of bed and train, or maybe to work on that side hustle that they're looking for. Just super appreciative and excited to keep going with the journey.
Awesome, man. I guess in closing, one of the biggest things that we try and focus on with this, we should have probably prefaced with this, but we almost treat it as like an accountability thing. So we've had people that have come on and then we kind of set them up with some goals to work on for the next 6 to 12 months. And then our plan is to get them back on and then talk about the why or the why not. Why did that happen? Why didn't it happen? Is there something that you want to put out there into the universe for some accountability that we can maybe chat about in 6 to 12 months? What are you working on?
Yeah, you definitely didn't slide this across to me beforehand. I know if I had more homework to do, maybe delay coming on. No. Yeah, look, I think it's about, for me, it's one, constantly like growing the team and empowering them. I think that's something that I'm always looking to invest in and get better at. Two, the WOD Life to grow on a global scale. We want to be known as a, global brand and a global business, and that's something that we're definitely working on. And then three, like we talked about, is if I'm more advanced to better manage those energy sources and understand when I can go and when I need to maybe slow down. If I can be better along that journey, I'll definitely be in a good position.
Amazing. 3 really good things. And maybe young T and I can come and see the warehouse at some point in the next couple of weeks. That'd be awesome.
You could come in, maybe, rip your shirt off, and I'll get you in a few photo shoots as well.
Done. Especially Mr. Handsome on the left right here. If you're watching on the YouTube, by the way, very couple of handsome lads.
Appreciate your time again, Andy. Thanks again.
Appreciate it, mate.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Good to chat.
Thanks, mate. Bye.